Yeah, I don't know, man. You ever just feel like life is just catapulting towards some greater purpose?
Average Fatcats with bloated ego. We are the only DJ crazy enough to tattoo Jackie Brown on his ass.
This is Michael Mann, and I ride with
Extended clip.
Walls were graffitied out. Like it was
so funny.
It was. I was like, I'm kind of scared. I'm not, even though it's like 1 PM. Like I'm just like, this is kind of hectic. But
the Van Nuys courthouse is truly a hellhole. Like it's one of the worst places ever. But you do have Bill's Burgers right around the corner. One of my favorite places. Apparently, Bill died recently, but his widow, I guess, is continuing to make burgers in his name there, which is nice.
that's good.
Yeah. Bill was like this old man who grilled burgers in Van Nuys forever at this really great place, and he had I think Vietnamese wife that would work with him, and he always wore a hat that said Native Pride. But like, he's not Native American. He's just like a white guy. I think he thinks Native Pride means he's proud to be from America, kind of.
Or LA,
or LA maybe. I don't know.
yeah, LA Native. Yeah.
Native Pride.
What else could it mean?
But one time when I was in high school, I was there with the aforementioned Arseni and past guest of the show, Roger, and we were getting burgers there, and we're watching him cook our burgers, and Roger interrupts him and says, "Hey, I'm so sorry, but I actually asked for no cheese on mine. I see cheese on mine." And he turns around and scowls at us, Gran Torino style, and looks at Arseni and goes, "He won't eat cheese, but I bet he'll eat pussy."
That's so good.
Yeah, just to like 3 high school kids.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
Like, he knew how much he was just like owning us at that point. Like we now
so
belong
good.
to him. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
No, I mean, it made you a lifetime fan too.
Yeah.
It's like, I got to keep coming back here.
Yeah.
Man. This is amazing.
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, Bill's Burgers, shout out. That's a Van Nuys legendary establishment right there. Yeah.
After you beat the case, just go scutter on down to Bill to celebrate.
Exactly. Cash only. He was great. He was like a classic old crank. Like he had a sign on the window that said, "This is not Burger King. You can't have it your way." And they didn't serve French fries there. And if anyone ever asked for fries, he would say, "Yeah, go to McDonald's."
That's real. We need more things to be like that. You know what I mean? With that type of mindset.
Anyway, let's do the podcast now. I think that 5-minute tangent about food in the valley that might not even be there anymore is maybe it'll be in the podcast. Who knows? People love the casual chatter of extended clips.
Behind the scenes.
That we need to talk less about movies and more about our personal lives.
It's time to lay it out on the line.
I was told that by my mom because she doesn't know any of the movies and she wants to just know how I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah, good way to eliminate a phone call, just listening on the pod.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just your mom texting you, "Call me, Eddie, please," and you just send her Patreon link.
$15 call fee. That should be a next tier of the page. This is kind of just tangential thinking, but the next tier, $25, you get to be on an episode with us. You get to call in and.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you get to be my mom.
You get to be my mom. I mean, that could be a dynamic at play.
Welcome to Extended Clip. It is episode 391, and I'm one of your hosts, Eddie Averill.
I'm Malcolm Baum.
I'm JT White.
Today, on the first episode of April, we are kicking off a little thematic programming for the month. We are going to be of 2 minds this month on Extended Clip, and both of those minds take place in the 60s and 70s during the downfall of the classic Hollywood studios and the uprising of the new Hollywood. So we're going to be talking about some late style films from the old masters, you know, the guys who got their start pre-World War II, even taking their last breaths on the studio lots, you know, hearing the breath of the young up-and-comers down their neck, you know, make way, old man. It's time for us new young boys. And then we're also going to be talking about the young boys. We're going to be talking about some new Hollywood fare to contrast the late style from the old masters in this period. And so our first episode within this framework is going to be on Man's Favorite Sport, a film by Howard Hawks. Now, JT, you picked our first two selections on this little series, Man's Favorite Sport. In our next one, I almost said Bringing Up Baby. In our next one, What's Up, Doc? Tell us a little bit about your selection for this program, for this double feature, if you will.
The main linkage is pretty obvious. It's like two screwball, like romantic comedies. And I had not seen Man's Favorite Sport before this, but just based on the rumblings I heard in the wind, I kind of had a feeling of like, this would be a good thing to maybe like set the tone for the old Hollywood, new Hollywood kind of dichotomy at play here, because a lot of the new Hollywood guys, movie brats who loved and were influenced by the films of these old Hollywood guys who were at the time still making things, but like definitely showing their age. And what I had heard about Man's Favorite Sport was that it was a very, very slow, leisurely paced screwball comedy. And for some, that might put them off, because I feel like a hallmark of the genre is kind of like rapid paced, like zany gag stuff. And I mean, there are zany gags aplenty in here, but not necessarily rapid paced at all. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's something that might be popping up as potentially a recurring theme throughout the series with the old heads here, is that we're going late style mode. They're easing off the gas a little bit, and you get to enjoy some, I don't know, distinct pleasures that are not like what their prime filmmaking mode is. But there's an interesting brew at play here. And yeah, I don't know. I thought I was just excited to dig in my teeth to Man's Favorite Sport. Love Rock Hudson. Love Howard Hawks. And I thought this was a great movie, and a very strange and interesting one.
Absolutely. I think this movie has so much just like bursting at the seams to really dive into metatextually. I mean, my starting point is the fact that Rock Hudson is the lead here. Hawks wanted to reunite with Cary Grant, who he made some absolutely, masterful screwballs with 20 years before this, or even 25 years before this, as far back as Bringing Up Baby. But Cary Grant, he kind of knew he was too old for that shit, and that style was too old too, but Hawks refuses to lay down. And as you said, JT, rather than that jam-packed style of, let's say, Bringing Up Baby or His Girl Friday, where you are just like squeezing in every last line of dialogue and joke while running everything at 200 miles an hour, this is a very leisurely paced one with Rock Hudson leading the way. And what I wanted to say about the casting of Rock Hudson here is it brings out, like, I don't know, there's something about Hawks's films that I would be, far from the first person to talk about, but the interest in gender roles in Hawks's films, the Hawksian dame, who often is very domineering over the man, and is the one who is in charge to kind of reverse the roles of traditional courtship. You're thinking about Bringing Up Baby, for example. And it's a way of emasculating the male lead here. And, Cary Grant is someone who there were a lot of Hollywood rumors about, his illicit activities, if you will, some Hollywood Babylon style rumors. But then when you get Rock Rock Hudson in there, it doesn't take much for a contemporary viewer, or really any viewer from, I guess, the 80s onward, to realize that there's something a little extra textual to the common refrain of men basically running away from women who are attracted to them in these types of movies. These beta males who are, scared to get laid by women, essentially. Yeah. When you actually have a gay actor in it, it just like adds this extra textual layer of camp and detachment to it. It works both as this like total subtextual minefield with all of this stuff about like genre studies of the last 20 years of the romantic comedy, and just like a perfectly amiable, lazy Sunday morning throw it on the TV viewing. I think it operates on both fronts, and the latter is just because it shouldn't work at all on that front. Like the classic Screwball is dead by this point. It died 20 years ago. Like the Lady Eve, a lot of people say, is like the last one of the era. But I think really it's just like the magic of Hawks making these scenes come to life in a way that only he can makes this just such a unique thing that shouldn't work, but absolutely does.
Yeah, and I think with what you're getting at with the gender play and the issues at hand there, I think it's funny. I mean, obviously, again, like the consistent throughout Hawks's work, particularly like bringing up babies, Cary Grant in the pink woman's like clothing, saying he just went gay all of a sudden, and like all those men are usually like effete. I think it's particularly funny here that like the milieu that Hudson is in is one where he's pretending to be masculine.
Yeah,
like he's a guy who's like the before Abercrombie is as we know it today. It was like a fishing, sporting, outdoorsy kind of brand. And Rock Hudson has just been putting on that he knows how to fish. He has the information, but he's never done it. And I feel like that adds, like, again, like having him be like one of the most famous like closeted actors, like just the seeds existing in the genre itself, it like really amps it up to 10 on that front.
Yeah, I mean, it's a story about a guy who's been pretending to be a man, quote unquote, his whole life, played by a closeted actor, during a extremely homophobic mid-century era. And I just think that like that reading of it alone is just like a whole book's worth of stuff in there, let alone just like the very surface level pleasures of the movie. Malcolm, had you seen this one before?
No, I hadn't. You saying Sunday morning, like just having this kind of like laid back Sunday morning feel to it. I had that same thought while watching it, because you guys are right. Like it's a little bit more leisurely. It's a little bit longer than like your average Hawks movie. It's like 2 hours where it's like, I don't know, most genre fare people like a 90-minute type situation.
You want to know something crazy?
Yeah.
Universal cut 20 minutes out of the movie.
Oh.
Hawks wanted it to be like 2 hours and 40 minutes. I like can't get the details exactly right, but in the Hawks on Hawks book I was reading, just like refreshing myself on this info, and he was like, they cut 20 minutes out of it, and then we went to test screen it, and people said it was still boring, so they cut another 20 minutes out, and that's the picture you get. So unless he's exaggerating, Hawks wanted this movie to be 2 hours and 40 minutes long, which is insane.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't even know what, maybe we stay in the city a little bit longer.
Yeah, like that had to just be a completely different structure of the movie where, yeah, exactly. I think staying in the city with Rock Hudson for another hour is probably all you can get out of that, unless there's some, stuff at the end about their life, the next chapter.
Yeah, everyone talks about the subtext. Those 40 minutes were all the the cruising Friedkin type scenes that the people weren't ready for with this movie. No, but even like the metatextual of Rock Hudson being closeted, even without that, even if you didn't know that, and people at the time, maybe there were rumors, but people probably just took this straight up. They weren't reading the metatext, and it is kind of like you have the framework of like the classic Hawks. Hawksian woman kind of chasing a man around, but this time it's like two. It's two women, and it's you have a even more exaggerated front of masculinity, like JT mentioned. Like it's not, Cary Grant. He's a
professor.
He's a professor. He's a professional, but this guy's supposed to be. This guy's someone we're supposed to look up to, an alpha guy catching all the fish.
I think he really is the only like true alpha in the screwball canon for those guys. Like I feel like those characters always have a job that kind of emasculates them a little bit. Like Henry Fonda, he goes on his excursions in The Lady Eve, like he just got back from some kind of snake excursion, but make no mistake, he's no Indiana Jones. He's just like a guy who's rich with beer money, like he's not really, and he totally just like becomes emasculated by Barbara Stanwyck's prowess, and the list goes on with all the screwball movies. So like the fact that he is supposed to be this man's man and just gets completely cut down to size immediately is just such a great starting point for this movie. It's almost like, the genre being 20 years old, Hawks is almost playing with people's preconceived notions of what's going to happen from this movie. He's like he's both stealing from himself and revising his own stuff that he's done in the past too. It's weird. It's like a remix and a recycle.
Yeah, when you've been doing it as long as him, you get to do that. You get to sample yourself sometimes. And just talking about the opening, I feel like right from the opening credits, I love the opening credits. It's a lot of like footage of like, model like women playing various sports like tennis or volleyball, things like that.
In this super like collage-y montage way. Very, very like 60s art directed, like something you would see in Mad Men in universe or something, And Mad Men is definitely an aesthetic reference point. This movie, actually, I will tell you, is part of the reason we did a Mad Men series on this podcast.
Oh, why?
Because about a year ago, I rewatched this, rewatched The Graduate, and rewatched Planet of the Apes. And those three movies, and The Swimmer, and those four movies together, I was like, we got to just do like a Mad Men cinema series, because this has just got me thinking Mad Men. And I think the art direction of like the corporate life of Abercrombie and Fitch was very, I don't know, pop art 60s, Mad Men adjacent, in my opinion.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, you were just watching the 60s movies. You're like, I got to stay here. Like, I can't go back. I can't go to the bum-ass 80s. You know what I mean? I got to be on top of this skyscraper drinking a vodka martini, like all my idols in the movies and television do. And I totally get it, because it is like I do, I love the corporate, high lifestyle, urban, just living in this, and like all the nice clothes and whatnot. Like it's a huge part of the enjoyment. But like back to the opening, like even the opening theme song with the Mancini music, it's talking about, man's favorite sport, it's hunting after women, right? And it's like so ironic, because it is like he's just running away from, women this entire movie, as many Hawks protagonists have done before.
So great. And just like more on the specifics of the time period. Yeah, just shooting, in Technicolor on location in San Francisco with the guy that Hawks got instead of Cary Grant couldn't help but evoke a little bit of North by Northwest to me, where it's like this movie is almost just like cutting that kind of thing down to size. Like you thought you were going to get in for some crazy adventure with a ladies' man. Well, it's going to actually be the opposite of that. So we didn't really talk about what this film's central premise is beyond its character. Roger Willoughby, played by Rock Hudson, is, of course, the kind of spokesperson for Abercrombie and Fitch and their fishing department. And so there's this big fishing tournament coming up, and Abercrombie is sending the face of their company, the man who's written books that stock their shelves, Roger Willoughby, out to represent them at the tournament. And someone who was working on the tournament, I guess, in some sort of capacity, is Paula Prentice as Abigail Page. And they have a classic, meet cute up top where she steals his parking space, immediately emasculating him, as you'll see throughout this movie happen time and time again. But yeah, so they're set up together at this lakeside fishing tournament where, it is revealed that he is in fact a complete fraud and only pretending to be this expert fisherman / sports good knower, I guess.
Reelsman.
He does not know ball. He doesn't know reel. Yeah, exactly. To put it in modern parlance. And so he has to, learn how to fish on the fly and be a fraud, and at the same time resist the charms of Paula Prentice and her buddy, her French buddy Easy, played by Maria Persci. And it is just like, as JT mentioned earlier, a very slow comedy. Every scene is played out at a very leisurely pace. It is very TV land ready, It feels like something, as I said earlier, like you flipped on TV at your grandpa's house after spending the night there. And this is on TV, and it feels like it's on from 5 a.m. to noon,
Mm-hmm.
Right out the gate, it's just funny because it's just like, okay, I had heard like rumors of like, okay, this is a pretty slow movie, but like when Paula Prentice and Hudson meet for the first time, you get a little bit of like the snappy back and forth like sort of banter there, and I was like, okay, maybe tales of like how slow it is are a little bit exaggerated, but then the opening gag sequence like goes on for so long, like with him like trying to like move her car and like him trying to like sneak in through like the rooftop, like, and it's just again, it's something like I where it's like I definitely feel like your mileage may vary. Obviously, I think like one for the Hawks heads, but there's just something so funny and strange to me about seeing comedy like stretched and like played out in such a way. Like to me, I think a comparable reference point is that like I really like the third Austin Powers movie, Goldmember, a lot, but I think part of the charm of that movie is that it's just like maybe 70% recycled jokes from like the other movies. So it's just like there's a charm to me in seeing the filmmakers be so lazy. And like with this, it's just like, again, I'm not sure like the intentionality of it. Certainly a lot of it feels like Hawks as an aging filmmaker just being like just taking his time. There's definitely a lot of old man energy there, but it like seeing Hudson try to like go through the roof of a car and it taking like maybe like real time, like that duration, not him like doing it any faster to like add like normally like in a classic screwball, I feel like there'd be like 3 or 4 different gags that would happen in that duration to like complicate it. It's just like it's not making it funnier, but just like giving like, especially again, if you know that style of comedy, giving you just like this strange like feeling where you're just playing with time there, where it's just like, why is it like it, again, it's amusing to see Hudson do that because he's like 20 times larger than the car. But like, I don't know, just the durational feeling of slowing down a comedy like that is just something that like the experience of it for me was just really thrilling the whole time.
Well, another thing that Hawks said about the movie, because that Hawks on Hawks book is like from about the time that this came out. And so he said that like it was the most broad thing he had seen in years. Like he intentionally made the most broad comedy that a studio had put out in years. And, I kind of take umbrage with that claim because this is 1964. We're in the midst of Jerry Lewis's golden age as a director right now, and that gag in particular really evoked Jerry Lewis for me, where he is another filmmaker who will let a gag play out for so long that it becomes not funny and then continues letting it play out for so long that it once again becomes funny. And this definitely, I don't know if Howard Hawks had any thoughts on Jerry Lewis, but there's like a very similar feeling of the stretched out nature of some of these bits as you get in, let's say, the Errand Boy or the Patsy,
Yeah, and that style of humor, it's something that I've always kind of admired. Like one of my favorites, a lot of people's favorites, Norm Macdonald, right?
Sure.
Like that's one of his signatures, is like telling the long meandering joke that doesn't even really have a punchline. And that there's kind of a humor comparable to that too. And also I think, this is what our enjoyment of this movie is, what auteurism is, right?
Yeah.
Like we're like recognizing the framework that's in Hawks's movies throughout the years, and now here with this one, it feels a little bit different, and we're just liking the variation within this framework. And viewing movies through this auteurist lens, like I feel like it just opens you up to enjoying more movies in general, to where I think we're kind of hinted at it, but like the public did not like this movie, and this was not received well when it came out, right? Everyone was like, this is Hawks's worst. I saw Paul Schrader, he dissed it on Facebook 2 years ago, so it is kind of funny, there's people who are not getting what we're getting out of this movie. And I'm not saying we're better for it or anything like that, but it's just, I guess just a auteurist reminder, we're looking at it through a very particular framework, but, I think it's the bright side, you know what I mean?
But also, like, the reason why we are auteurists, the reason why Hawks is an auteurist favorite, it's like, what is this what is Howard Hawks doing in this movie that's so special? It's making it enjoyable. Like, it's Hawks's style as a filmmaker really almost feels like you're talking about a director of theater a lot of times. He doesn't have necessarily visual trademarks besides letting things play out in spacious two shots a lot of times, and that's more of a formal and process oriented thing than just like for the sake of visuals. He is someone who just works a scene until it works. Like, he is someone who just knows what's funny and what's compelling and how actors bounce off of each other, and that's why he has recycled dialogue from his own movies from the start. It's not like just a late style thing. It's like you find movies from him in the 40s that are recycling lines he used in the 30s, and he just knows what works on an audience, and he knows how to be a master entertainer. And when we're thinking about auteurism and the director as an artist of the highest capabilities, we don't usually think of just like an entertainer for the masses. And that's why I think some people kind of struggle with Hawks beyond the films that are just like studio filmmaking at its finest. And obviously maybe they lean into the stylings of the time, like his 40s films have a noir tinge to the visuals. There's not like necessarily a visual or anything like that marks Hawks as this special artist. It's his recurring themes throughout his films and his ability to pinpoint what works in cinema and keep using that over and over. The Hawksian woman, the woman who can compete with the men, and the camaraderie and teamwork of men. And in this film, the camaraderie of the guys who are competing against each other. They're not even on a team here, but still the camaraderie of all of those fishermen having a drink, at night at the cabin just feels so natural and compelling. And it's because Hawks is just like someone who has figured out what the essentials of good cinema consists of on a scripting level and a staging level, and just like what feels good as a scene. And frankly, I think that's why this movie works, is just like these scenes, you can just understand why each scene is there and what the joke is. And maybe sometimes the premise of the scene doesn't land for a contemporary audience, but I don't know, I feel like the intention is there, and he's just someone who, like, I hate to use this word, but he's kind of the OG like vibes filmmaker.
Sure.
Like he's just a guy who knows what is compelling. That's why Rio Bravo is 2.5 hours long. It should be 8 hours long, you know, because it's just like perfect scenes of guys interacting with each other. And then once in a while you throw in a sexy lady who can hold her own with the fellas, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like a very basic thing, but I don't know, someone who's able to pinpoint those pleasures of cinema like Hawks deserves to be talked about as one of the great artists, even if, you know, he doesn't have the visual flourishes of a Vincent Minnelli or the poeticism and evocation of history of a John Ford, you know?
Of course, like there are poetics in those, like in the scenes of hanging out.
Yeah,
like
of course,
showing
yeah.
it. And I mean, it's not even like, I don't know, something like Rio Bravo, not necessarily like a plotless film or anything, but it's not like the strongest momentum pushing forward. It's hanging out until I feel like the movie, like the explosion happens there. But there's because he is such a good like director of actors, a good like what you're saying, like stage like craftsman, he knows how to make the scenes compelling. Like there's conflict within scenes. He just pulls a lot of like poetry out of like character work, and I don't know, again, like just is I don't know, one of the biggest just masters of making something entertaining and pleasant and building a world that like you truly do want to live in.
Absolutely. And it's something that, you know, like feels quasi natural, you know, the performances aren't as high pitched as they were in the late 30s movies, but at the same time, yeah, it's a world that, you know, allures the viewer to want to be there, you know, whether it's the beautiful natural like campground landscapes or the rotating bar at the top of a skyscraper in San Francisco.
Yeah.
You know, he just is able to pull out all of the stops through the basics, the basic building blocks of cinema, like production design, for instance, on those two scenes that I mentioned, just to evoke something that the people want to be there for, even if they don't know why.
You know, mentioning the spinning bar, like I love that scene, and there's I guess that whole sequence where he's like gonna reveal, you know, to the two ladies that he doesn't really know how to fish, and there's just a lot of great comedy in the spinning bar, you know, and like him not realizing that it's a spinning bar, and then they go to I was going to call it an elephant museum, but it's not
a piano museum.
Piano museum. I don't know why I said elephant.
Elephant museum.
Well, I was just thinking of like what's a wacky random museum, you know. But yeah, then they go to the piano museum. You have the comedy of the music interrupting it. Like as much as, you know, the camping stuff is fun, like I just love the San Francisco stuff at the beginning, just because I think it's such a photogenic city in general. Like it's such a unique looking city compared to other major cities, just in its like geography and like all the hills, just the way it's constructed just looks very different from other cities. And just seeing Hawks kind of tackle that here, I just enjoyed that in itself.
When we get to the campgrounds, we're immediately greeted by Screaming Eagle, a character who shows up throughout this movie in a bit that feels like proto Adam Sandler hangout movie.
Proto Rob Schneider, racial magic, you know?
Exactly. Like, does it count as brownface if he reveals himself to be putting on the accent? Like the character himself, I mean, I think it's pretending, still,
you know. That wasn't. I thought that was Dean Martin. I didn't even know that it was.
Well, it wasn't Dean.
No,
Martin.
I know. That's my joke, because he had tan skin. And he does kind of look like Dean Martin a little bit.
He's not native. He's Italian. The natives of Hollywood.
But I think it does count still. But it's self-aware at it's Tropic Thunder type level. Scene, you know. Not to, you know, that's a later movie, but
yeah,
you
but
know,
the premise, of course, being that this white guy playing a Native American, John Screaming Eagle, is exploiting every white person that comes in by putting on the stereotypical native voice and hustling them out of some money for his wisdom.
Yeah, you know, just thinking of that character, this is much later in the movie, but like once we kind of have that like screwball type scene where, you know, you have the two ladies in Willoughby's cabin, not, he's innocent, but his fiance's coming over and it looks bad. But once his fiance arrives, I love the fake Native American just counting on his fingers. He's like 3, because he saw 3 women go into his house. Just like, I don't know why him going 3 cracked me up.
It's a painstaking bit. It's like the crux dramatically of the movie, because it's moment of truth time. We haven't even mentioned it, but this man who is off on this retreat is engaged to a woman who's just like mentioned and off screen throughout the movie. She shows up while Paula Prentice is in his bed, and Maria Pesci is like, helping him unzip himself, as it were. And throughout this, you just get these cutaways to Screaming Eagle counting on his finger how many women are entering and exiting the cabin. And I think it's the dedication to keep going back to it that makes it funny. Because the first time you see it, it's like, okay, he's noticing. Yeah. The second time, it's like, all right, why is he... We don't really need to see this. We're kind of in a confrontation here. Yeah. And then the third time just kills you. Yeah.
I thought he was going to tell his fiance or something. Yeah. It almost looks like he's snooping. Like that's going to be a subplot, but he's just curious. He works there. It gets boring. You just got to peek around, I guess.
After Rock Hudson gets there and talks to Screaming Eagle, gets the lowdown on that and starts setting up his campsite, you get a set piece that is really the definition of the film's pace and sensibility, where you get the really, really goofy, the Mancini comedy music that's everything, pulling out all the stops short of the fat guy tuba, it's very boom, 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 boom. And Rock Hudson's trying to figure out how to do the tent, and he's stepping in buckets, and it's the dumbest shit ever, and goes on so long and is eventually so funny because the actual joke of the scene is that the 2 girls are watching him, but Hawks has to let you watch him first, and then compounds the joke by the girls watching, and then further compounds it by Rock Hudson realizing that the girls are watching, and it ends up being a 5-minute scene of just him not being able to put a tent together. And I feel that is just by then, if you're not on board, we are 30 minutes into this movie. You are gonna hate this movie if you're not on board. And then the film rewards you, because just a minute later you get the greatest gag and or stunt in maybe all of Howard Hawks.
It's up there. He does the animal. He has gone animal before, but
exactly. Yeah. We do not have an animal character such as Baby the Leopard in this one, who is recurring throughout the film. Instead, we get 2 small but poignant scenes, one later on for the sake of the plot, and one early on for, as I said, one of the greatest gags and stunts ever. The big old bear hanging out at the campsite here, and Rock Hudson on his motorcycle, as one does, gets splashed in the face with some mud and can't see and falls, and the bike just happens to ride right into the butt of a bear. We cut to Rock Hudson, cut back to the bear perfectly riding a motorcycle, and switch the anything but seamless switch from the actual bear to the guy in a bear suit on the motorcycle is probably the funniest part of it. Because every time I watch it, I'm like, wait, how did they get the bear to ride the motorcycle? Yeah. And I forget that it's the most blatant thing ever of just a guy in a bear suit.
Oh yeah, that's how. Yeah,
it's so funny, and it's also just not very. It's doesn't really hang on it for all that long, but then you get the girl come up to him after. It's like, hey, is that your motorcycle that a bear is riding over there?
Yeah. And they're little pocket rocket bike.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great example of just extending the scene out longer, because I feel in a Brendan Fraser 90s version of that, after the bear is riding the motorcycle, then you cut to Brendan Fraser, he's like, what? And then on to the next scene. But you get an extra minute of just some random woman being like, there's a bear riding a motorcycle.
Well, unfortunately, since you said Brendan Fraser, it made me think of the extreme sports peaks of the late 90s. And I do think that in a Brendan Fraser vehicle, if we had this gag, it would have the bear do some sick dirt bike tricks.
True.
And like that might be worth it. You know, is it a better film overall? Who knows?
True, the bear. Yeah, maybe that was the 20 minutes that was missing. Just extra bear stunts and BMX
Now that I
style
think
stuff.
about it, that is the character who's the most underdeveloped in this movie is the bear. You know, he does that gag and then he just kind of goes away until the end.
Damn, I'm so simple minded that I'm just imagining a bear doing BMX tricks on a bike, and it's really doing a lot for me. Like I'm really enjoying that. Like him like popping wheelies and doing handlebar shit. Yeah.
Yeah. You are doing your version of in The Simpsons what Homer imagines the ballet to be.
Homer was a very influential figure on me. I can't lie. I really can't lie. I used to think I was like Bart, but you know, deep down, I knew.
Hey, Homer, you want to get a beer on the way home?
I can't. I gotta take my wife to the ballet.
Gotta go see the bear in the little car, huh?
Anyway, we're talking about The Simpsons here on today's podcast. Man, I can't. The bear threw me off. I can't even like find myself here. But we don't need to painstakingly go through every plot detail of this movie because then this podcast would be as long as the fucking movie.
This isn't the director's commentary track we're doing, or the
That
viewers,
would be great.
Viewers commentary,
just to
rather?
run 2 hours on man's favorite sport. I think we would have to time it up a little better. Although I do think that this part of the discussion is now at the part where the bear does the motorcycle trick. Like we're 45 minutes into the podcast.
Yeah,
that's about when that happens. I think.
Well,
it's
it's funny because I like paused the movie at one point because I was just like, oh, okay, like I just have to pee, like whatever, and like I was like, we must have like, I don't know, maybe like 20 minutes left, and I was at the 59-minute mark.
So good. I mean, like the sport, you know, not the sport of girls, but the sport of fishing that this is ostensibly about.
You know, it's kind of the movie says there's some similarities, but doesn't really touch on them, but evokes it in the beginning, I guess.
Well, what I was saying, though, is that like the sport of fishing, this movie is very slow and not for the impatient, but worth the reward to those patient soldiers who are ready to wait it out, you know?
Yeah, I like a lot of, like, just talking of gags in general, like, there's a lot of funny stuff with, you know, it's tied to the fact of his profession, you know, selling, you know, sporting gear. And, like, I just, you know, in great Hollywood style, you know, you got to costume up, but, like, I love that he's just geared out for everything. And, of course, that culminates in, like, I love the inflatable drown-safe trousers he wears when he's learning how to fish. And that, it kind of reminded me of an incident when I was on the lake with some friends. And you ever go tubing before? Like, they have a tube on the back of a boat. And I just remember I kind of felt like Rock Hudson there when he was upside down in the tube, when the tube's upside down. Because I remember as a kid, I was tubing. I was doing some tube action, and they went way too fast, and I was just like upside down, like, and like the water started getting like rough, and like, you know, they thought I was saying go fast, you know, because I was like lifting my hand, and like it just reminded me of me being, you know, a Hoxian protagonist, basically. Kind of it all kind of flashed before my eyes in that scene, but
not the story I thought you were going to tell when you led with I felt like Rock Hudson.
I felt like Rock Hudson. Well, yeah, that's a home movies edition, you know, that's a whole different story. But yeah, I don't know, I love that broad type of humor, like inflatable gags, you know, gags that inflate.
Like the tube in Grown Ups 2.
Oh, yeah.
A great gag.
True.
Or the inflatable boat, I guess it would be.
Yeah, taking it to the next level. But
well, yeah, Grown Ups 2 is, of course, the next level of Howard Hawks.
Well, I meant in tube-wise.
Yeah.
There's a lot more tube in a boat than in the pants, you know. Yeah, Grown Ups, you know.
Great blurb for the Kino Lorber Studios Classics Grown Ups 2 4K. Like on the back, it'll say like the next level of man's favorite sport tube wise.
Yeah, if they don't like call us before that is released or talk to us in any way, I think we have to like kill ourselves. Or something
we have to take some sort of action. I don't know about that, but there is action
Storming
to be taken.
Kino Lorber.
Just that's the only thing. Is just that movie. That's the only one we demand a piece of. You know.
By blind luck, he wins the tournament. Whether it's him, involving the bear or falling into catching a fish or anything like that.
Yeah, the scenes of him fishing are just kind of like he's just like falling in the water while he's fishing. Like it's not even like the most well-defined gag. Even it's just kind of like him accidentally catching fish. It's just I found that very funny, but also just like kind of like. I don't even know what's going on here. Like when he's catching this stuff, like it's just, I guess it's pure accident. That's the comedy of it.
And on another twist on the classic formula, the part of the movie, the part of the rom-com where the guy usually has to tell the girl who he really is and what to see if the love is real, as it were. This one sees Paula Prentice convincing Rock Hudson, like, you got to tell everyone that you're a fraud. Which is like a note that I was kind of surprised the first couple times I watched this. I kind of forgot about that aspect of it, and it gets pretty earnest there beyond the surface level leisurely comedy that most of this is running through about being true to yourself, I guess. Not much of like a moral or whatever to the story. It's not going to get heavy-handed or anything like that, but that moment of truth comes and precedes the romantic finale after Rock Hudson's fiance leaves him, where him and Paula Prentice are out in the rain in a classic rom-com formulaic way, but it works. It's charming enough.
It's like the ending of I Don't Want to Sleep Alone by Tsai Ming Lang, if you've seen that, where they just randomly float out. Have you guys ever seen that movie?
I have not. But
that's a good reference for those who know.
I'm guessing that's a great pull.
Yeah, that's a good pull.
That's one of the only Tsai Ming Lang movies I haven't seen.
Underrated. Yeah. Underrated. That one's really good. But the first kiss that they have, right? Yeah. That's preceded by the train crash. You know what I mean? That really kind of took me out of it or whatever. Yeah. Like not even in a bad way, but it's just like that's a move from the Rob Zombie playbook, right there.
Well, also, I mentioned North by Northwest earlier. Yeah. It's almost like a twist on that.
Absolutely.
That, train going into a cave final shot dick joke in that movie. Whereas this one, when our two leads kiss, it cuts to like silent movie footage of trains colliding and then comes back to that at the end to just do a completely like detached ending, fully removed from the characters we've been watching this whole time. Like first the train, and then as you said, in a Rob Zombie editing style, it goes into like another old timey serial where someone breaks the fourth wall and says that it's the end of the movie in 1920s makeup or whatever. And I love this movie. It's just so strange, and it being as slow as it is, I think, allows you to fully appreciate like the very granular level of detail that Hawks is paying attention to here to build out these great scenes that might not be showy on a stylistic level, but you just feel that you're in the hands of a master this whole time, Mm-hmm. And it's obviously not nearly as efficient, let's say, as Bringing Up Baby or His Girl Friday. And if you got your stopwatch out, it's not going to work for you. It doesn't have the same laughs per minute as those movies or something like that. But I just love this as like a slow, late period hangout movie in the face of like a change. Like, this is still early 60s. New Hollywood hadn't come in yet, but this is an old-fashioned movie for its time, and it's like something that I felt during Fedora, for a recent example on the podcast, of just the filmmaker refusing to get with the times at all and really just doing his own thing the way he always has. And I just find that so admirable. And I love this movie. I kind of get why people didn't like it at the time, but I think that it's kind of crazy that some of the Hawks auteurs still are not like fully on board with this one, because I think it's a true classic. I'm gonna go 4.5 bullets on this one. What about you, Nathan?
Yeah, I feel like sometimes with Hawks, like some of the ones that get the most criticism, this being maybe the movie that got the most criticism from him. Like, I don't know, I feel like some people are not so hot on like Monkey Business either, or something like that.
Again, great
Yeah,
film.
great movie. And it
Yeah.
is like, some people, they're just not goofy. They're not willing to get real goofy and silly, like those movies do. Or, maybe they are. I don't know these people, but like just I'm noticing these movies just have an extra goofiness factor. And it's interesting just to see Hawks kind of like, just, I don't know, in the great outdoors. I guess we saw it with Bringing Up Baby, but kind of like in this like campground, fishing atmosphere. And, just apart, from like kind of what makes it unique, kind of like the stretched out style, and it's kind of like leisurely pace. I do just like how everything looks. Like I like the, like the lounge cabin area and like what everyone's wearing. Like I mentioned with like, when you work at Abercrombie and Fitch, you get all the finest, Dick's Sporting Goods like gear. Does that mean like Big Five is gonna take like an Abercrombie and Fitch style turn like that? It is. I was enjoying the movie, but like that's mentioned at first, and it's like I couldn't stop thinking about it for 5 minutes. It is just like, that's funny that Abercrombie and Fitch used to be like Big Five basically, where you get like even nicer Big Five,
Or like the REI or something.
REI, yeah, like
An outdoorsman store.
Yeah.
It just shows that I guess I don't like it's never too late to change. Kind of a hidden message. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I'm gonna go for the bullets.
JT?
Yeah, I'm going 4 bullets as well. I thought it's great. I mean, again, just like of the old Hollywood directors in like the rise of the new era, just have something that produce pieces of art that just feel so out of time and so, I don't know, contrary to new style, that like I admire the stubbornness. And it's just like, it's something that's a very fun world to hang out in. And I think in terms of like being like stubborn, like I think the relationship that the movie has to like sexuality and like a slightly like more liberalized like Hollywood on that front is very funny and strange, because I think it really boils down to like the train joke at the end that is like very like crudely just in your face, like they're fucking now. And then Rock Hudson makes a joke, or not even a joke, but it's like when the rain is coming down,
I'm
there's
glad
like
you're
some
mentioning
sort of
this. Yeah.
some sort of offhand mention that he can like see their tits through their shirts.
And he's covering his eyes.
Yeah.
Hiding from it, like so many of the great, like I think we talked about this when we talked about Bringing Up Baby, but like one of the great pleasures of the genre is just that these are movies about guys running away from women, which is just funny inherently.
Yeah.
It's just not what you see in movies usually.
Yeah, it's
just
just a guy
reversing
getting
the-
offended.
Yeah.
Even like as an openly gay man. Like it's
Yeah.
not like he wouldn't be like, oh
It's not how that works at all. Yeah.
no.
But that's
Cover
why
yourself.
it's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, what an innovator. Did Hawks invent the wet T-shirt contest? I mean, it's kind of, it has to be floated out there that he might have done that.
That's the thing. I like this as like a duology with Hatari, which was 2 years earlier, as just Hawks's like ultimate like leisure class like men's adventure film. So it's just like, if you have enough money, you could just go hunting and fishing and just hang out and like, maybe there will be some girls too, but like we're in it for the gamesmanship of it.
Yeah, I love the fishing, the people who make up this fishing competition. It's all just like old guys and like hot women, basically. And it is, I guess that's leisure class living. I guess that's what's going on.
That has to be all Hawks sees at that point, is old guys and hot women. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think I said 4 bullets, but yeah,
Okay.
I think it's a very fun time. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, the two other like the Rock Hudson, Doris Day like rom-coms of like the era, which I think come before this, like Pillow Talk and Lover come back. Like, it's just funny to compare those movies that are like more modern to like something like this, where it's just like, okay, Hudson can do this stuff a little bit faster. It can be a little bit more with it. But yeah, I don't know. It's nice to see something that is so like clearly out of it.
Well, that will do it on Man's Favorite Sport, and we will be right back on Extended Clip.
Willoughby, this is your lucky day.
Howard Hawks' classic romantic comedy, Man's Favorite Sport.
Since having the time off, I feel like I have some things to pull from, actually. Even still, just not watching many movies, just being busy. But there are at least 2 that I know I can talk about.
Same. Well, it's also just having a week of programming for ourselves. You know what I mean? Like just in the wild.
Having a week off.
Yeah,
from this just terrible job that dictates my life.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a you have to think independently for a week. You know, it's just like I'm giving some insight behind this week's segment of Malcolm in the Middle. Is that what it's called?
And we're back on Extended Clip. What's the segment called?
Malcolm in the Middle or something?
Malcolm in the Middle?
Or what is it called? I don't
even know.
For a week, we didn't do an episode, so we had to program for ourselves in a way. You know, we watch movies outside the podcast, but it is like an extended period of time. And I just, I had that classic dilemma that I hadn't had in a while where you're like, what movie I'm going to watch? And you waste like an hour, 2 hours, like looking for a movie. Everyone's done it. There's no
2 hours?
It wasn't
That's crazy.
It wasn't like 2 hours, but it was more than one.
But because like I relate to this.
Yeah.
But the thing is I feel so much shame just like wasting time that I give up. Like after like if I can't think of the movie in 20 minutes, I'm putting on a comfort TV show. Like, that makes me sound like a baby, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm putting on a sitcom.
You're putting in your binky. You're putting on your bonnet. No.
You're putting on an episode of Bluey.
Hey, zoning out. And I'm drooling all over myself. Well, I think I was watching like basketball while I was doing it. You know what I mean? It wasn't like just solo, no music, dark room, although it's like,
staring at your laptop.
What's the difference? I mean, I have done that before, I bet. But there's also the time sunk cost fallacy, or, maybe it's not a fallacy. But I think 20 minutes is a good cutoff mark, but it's like, oh shit, I've spent 40 minutes looking for a movie. I fucking, if I walk out of here without a movie, then it's like, it's even worse. Like I gotta pick something. And there wasn't even like, I don't know. I guess I'm just talking on that, that's a thing that happens. There's no real grand conclusion. But what I did watch, I watched Party Girl by Nicholas Ray. Never seen this before. And it's funny. It should have been called the Criminal Lawyer, because that's what the movie's actually about. Well, just to give a little background, it is like, you see the poster, Party Girl, there's a woman on the cover in like a showgirl type outfit. And I think, oh, this is going to be about, being like a showgirl and like the ins and outs, ups and downs. But it's really more centered on a lawyer that this quote unquote party girl played by Sid Charisse meets. This guy who's like a lawyer for a bunch of gangsters. He's getting all these gangsters off, a criminal lawyer played by Robert Taylor, and the mob boss is Lee J. Cobb, and three really good performances at the center of this. And I have to say, Robert Taylor, I feel like I'd seen him in a movie before, maybe a black and white one. I have to say that's like the bluest eyes I've ever seen, to the point where I'm like, this is kind of making me uncomfortable. Like these eyes are like too blue. Like it's kind of, I'm kind of a little unsettled.
I get that.
Yeah.
I got that with what's her name from Lee Remick.
Lee Remick.
When we did that Tennessee Valley River movie.
Wild River?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why. Her eyes made me uncomfortable. They were too colored. And it's like someone's in the color correction booth going a little too crazy, I think.
Yeah.
They're enhancing a little bit,
And yeah, this movie, I mean, it has a very like Technicolor style to it, and but it's mostly like, which you think, oh, that pairs well with this, you know, showgirl atmosphere, but it's mostly centered around, yeah, like Robert Taylor, this lawyer, and him wanting to go clean. And kind of, you have this dynamic at first where like he's flirting with Sid Charisse, but then he kind of like shits on her for being like a showgirl. And then, you know, their flirting is kind of on the basis then when she finds out he's like a kind of a scumbag lawyer, she's like, oh, well, you're selling your pride too. And then like, I thought that's what, you know, it's kind of going to get into more of the romantics, but it really becomes like a noir crime thriller where, you know, the lawyer's, you know, getting in trouble from the mob. They're threatening to injure him and he's kind of on the run. And it's just really good. And like, you know, in between like all this kind of evading the law type activity, you know, we have Sid Charisse doing her performances, you know, at this club. And they become more elaborate as she kind of works her way up. At first, she's kind of like a background dancer. Now she kind of has like her own, you know, it seems like she has like a creative license to do whatever she wants on the stage. And it gets really interesting. And it's kind of feels like she's singing like about the emotions of everything that's going on in the movie, especially like the first sequence, you know, it's kind of like about a party girl. Like the song itself is like about a quote unquote party girl. And has like a positive upbeat feel to it. But, you know, if you look at the lyrics, it's kind of sad, you know, it's telling I guess the bad realities of being a party girl or whatever. But it's not even really about being a party girl. It's about being a scumbag lawyer, I guess. And he figures out not to do that. But it was just really, really enjoyable movie that subverted my expectations given the poster and the title. And just 3 really solid performances at the core of it. And, you know, Nicholas Ray, he really has never strayed me wrong ever. And this is another notch in the bedpost, as they say.
Man, that's a bad mental image. Just like someone actually doing notches on their bedpost. Like, that, seen another Nicholas Ray movie.
Just life as a prison, just spending 2 hours in a dark room trying to find a movie, you know, and then, all right, that's another Nicholas Ray, mark it off, 7, you know.
That's how a lot of people watch movies.
It's fun. It's actually healthy, you know. Thanks Letterboxd, you know, for encouraging this.
Oh, if Letterboxd wants to sponsor us, God, no, they'll never touch us. Ever since they reached a certain point of like being a PR firm basically for like Neon and A24, and it's just like, they're never gonna do anything.
Well, also, I think by law, if you're an hour into a podcast, whatever you're saying can't be held against you.
That too. Yeah. Just in case.
Yeah, no, I'll sell out in a heartbeat. Never mind. That's all. Actually,
I was joking. I mean, you brought it to a serious play. You know, I was I'm blaming Letterboxd for this movie but I don't think that's in reality.
I mean, they can prove me wrong. I would love that. I would love for them to be like, oh no, we'll get involved with you. Here's $100,000.
True. I messed it up. You were doing pickup artistry techniques where you were kind of negging them, kind of like
negging Letterboxd. I was like, yeah, you guys are basically just a PR firm for A24 and Neon. And
you would never
care about history and just chase trends and do shitty Instagram videos. And I'm kind of ashamed to write more than one sentence on your app at a time. Oh, you want to feature me?
Yeah.
On the last 4? Oh, sure.
You would never get with a guy like me. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's how.
I have to pay $200 to be in one of the last 4 videos. Okay, I'll do it. Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah, how much is a Letterboxd blue check? I might pay for that if that exists. Oh, it's the pro. Yeah.
The Letterboxd orange check.
Orange check.
I would love to be gifted that. I've seen people post a screenshot like, OMG, they gifted me a year of pro because my reviews are so baller.
I pay for pro. I just like the stats. I like to see my numbers.
Look, you're a Kirk Goldsberry type, you know. You want to make your efficiency graph.
Yeah, exactly.
I get it.
What? Yeah. Now I'm just doing an ad for them. What does the Pro have? Like, it tells you like what actor or what does it show you?
Like, you know those year-end things that it sends you that are just like your most watched actor and director?
Yeah.
You could basically get the more expanded version of that at any time. When you
Yeah,
have that.
and you
like,
can do
it's
that-
not just year-end. It's
Yeah, you can do it for like all time, like every year that you've been like on the site, things like that. I don't know. Just I
Yeah.
feel like that's basically it.
I think once you log 2,000 movies on Letterboxd, the stats should be publicly available for everyone, kind of like a basketball reference type situation, and then people could win MVPs, first all-team watching.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Something like that.
Letterboxd reference would be a great fucking side website, like the dark cousin of Letterboxd. Letterboxd reference, and it's just a mirror, but the profile is just all stats, and it's laid out like reference, and you don't like see their log or anything. You just see like their stats for their career,
Yeah.
nicknames like on Basketball Reference.
And this is how we could really expand a previous idea of letterbox gambling. Now we could really
Yeah.
kind of take it to the next level.
Well, I mean, you
Player
can clown
props.
on someone for having like Mickey Mouse numbers where it's just like, okay, they have like 5,000 movies logged, but like I would say like maybe 1/3 of those are Looney Tunes shorts. And doesn't
Not
add
a
up.
real watcher. Not
Yeah.
a real watcher. Not putting in the hours. Not grinding tape.
See, then you get to then you get into the intangibles that the stats can't cover, and it's
Yeah.
like, look, stats can't cover aura, you know?
True.
Some people just have the Letterboxd aura. They just have it.
And
you know?
numbers aren't everything. It's like, okay, only 1,500 logged, but it's like, damn, 8 of those are Wang Bing documentaries. You got to respect it. That's real game right there.
Exactly. That's when you get into the advanced analytics. JT, you watch anything good recently?
Yes, I tipped my hand by bringing up the Looney Tunes because relatively recently I went to the theater and I went baby mode and I saw The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie. A friend of mine wanted to really check this out. I didn't even know it was coming out. And I was like, hell yeah, I'll see my pals Daffy and Porky on the big screen. And I don't know. For me, there's always going to be a pretty low ceiling for things that are like kids' movies. Again, it's just like hard, I feel like, to get into. But I don't know. It's like something that is both like very true and like fun and familiar with like classic Looney Tunes, like paying a lot of respect to that while like being like new and fresh and like doing like a different style of like 2D like animation while also having like portions of it like that are like more like the old stuff. Like really the only time I like cringed at any sort of new like Looney Tunes doing modern things was Daffy at one point has a throwaway line about like trying to make money as like an influencer, and he's like throwing ass on Instagram, which like describing it.
Hold on. I might like this.
Yeah, I was going to say, that actually sounds pretty good. Can you clip that scene and send it to me, actually? Just that scene?
Yeah, no, but it's very fun. That if I had to have a very juvenile quibble with this children's movie, it's about like basically Body Snatchers like parody movie where like there's a bunch of the aliens are like infecting the town gum company with this strange goo that like makes the gum like this mind control device. And the alien villain of the movie is not Marvin the Martian. And I was like, you got a perfectly good alien right in the canon there. But I don't know. Again, it's like, it was very fun, very cute, like very true to all the Looney Tunes style stuff. Not anything like I don't know. I wasn't expecting like Joe Dante, Looney Tunes back in action kind of stuff. And it is like just like weird to have the Looney Tunes like in a feature film. Like the shorts just work best. Like that's the way it goes. But there is one portion where they do like a Looney Tunes short within it. They compress the frame to 4:3 and do a bunch of like silly gags like that. So yeah, I don't know. It's definitely something where I was like, I thought to myself various times during the movie, if and when I have a child, I will gladly show them this Looney Tunes movie. And I think that's the biggest, like, I don't know, positive stamp you could have for like a kid's movie.
Yeah. That's that's what I walked away. I also went to a movie that I walked out of thinking, oh, I'll show this to my kid when he's a kid, And the movie I'm talking about is Kundun by Martin Scorsese.
I was wondering where that was going.
Yeah.
There's a lot of directions that could have went.
Yeah.
I also rolled out to the theater, like JT. The Arrow at the American Cinematheque, or rather, the American Cinematheque at the Arrow Theater, was playing Kundun on a nearly pristine 35 millimeter print, and man, that is a great, just like piece of old school spectacle. We were talking about some 60s Hollywood stuff where things start to get a little creaky in the fall of the empire. This kind of reminded me of the grandeur of those like late 50s, early 60s epics. And I don't know, it's a real stylistic, just like heavyweight movie. Roger Deakins' photography is like next level. It has a score by Philip Glass that is somewhat reminiscent of his score for Mishima, but is like, for my money, maybe a more powerful score. I think Mishima, like the score operates in terms of filmmaking better, but like I kind of like the score of Kundun like even better, honestly.
Like you might listen to it, outside
I just
of the
don't
movie.
listen to movie
sure.
soundtracks, but yeah, on that metric,
Glass is good. But there's some people
Glass is good though. Yeah,
there's some people that no shame if you do either. But like, there's some people that breaks that mold for me, where I'm like, I don't usually listen to movie soundtracks, but let me run some of this. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think, well, first of all, the kid thing, I was kind of joking, but also, so I don't know if you guys know, Kundun is, of course, Scorsese's biopic of the Dalai Lama, and he is, appointed this position as a young boy when a holy man finds him. And so the first like 20 minutes of the movie or so, it's like a 5-year-old that knows he's like the god, basically. Not god, but you know what I mean. Slaying the god. And gets to just like boss people around, which is a very funny thing. And like there's a lot of just like problem child style humor in the first like 20 minutes of the movie, which I really was
That's
not
the movie
expecting.
I was thinking about, where JT was like, show your kids. I was like, I got to show my future kid Problem Child.
Exactly.
Might not work well for me.
But then it becomes much more of what you would expect about a film about a religious leader, and it fits in perfectly with Scorsese's religious films. It was really interesting just seeing like which aspects of Buddhism he gravitates toward, and just like the absolute devotion of Buddhism here is shown with such respect, and also there's some imagery that looks very like Catholic, like putting a Catholic spin on Buddhist stuff, which is very funny. Like this one nightmare that the Dalai Lama has, that he's just like surrounded by a bunch of dead bodies that are covered in blood and everything, and it's like, this isn't a very typical image that you would see in a movie about Buddhism, I guess. But it's Scorsese busting out all the big guns and making a true like epic, even though it's barely over 2 hours. There's just so much like to the scope of the movie. It just casts such a wide breadth. And then there's also because like the main conflict comes about throughout World War II and the aftermath of World War II, and the rise of Mao Zedong's China, and obviously China taking back Tibet as their own land. And it's not a very flattering portrait of China, I guess you could say. I even got someone in my replies on Twitter being like, very unfair portrayal of Mao. And I thought that was funny, and then I remembered it. I was like, actually, it totally plays Mao as like a gay Bond villain. It's kind of hilarious. I mean, the movie is in English, which I know people have a very easy critique there. It's like, really, this movie should not be in English, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. It's an American Hollywood movie from the 90s.
Yeah.
I don't care that it's in English, but having Mao speaking English, like, as I said, kind of a gay Bond villain, is a hilarious touch that also kind of takes me out of the religiosity of the movie. It makes it a little silly, but at the same time, I think it's just entertaining. And yeah, I think Kundun's like a really great movie, and I get why people didn't, flock to the theaters to see it. It's not what people went to Scorsese movies for, but if you give it a chance, I think you're gonna like it quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's what people might say about something like Killers of the Flower Moon or something, but obviously we're fans of those movies, to at least to a certain extent. But yeah, it feels like Kundun, is truly like, I haven't seen it, but like I feel like that's the one people really don't talk about, other than of course the Sopranos scene, but like other than that, like I feel like I don't really hear anyone talking about it, even the people who are champion something like Silence, which isn't less fun fare. So I gotta check it out.
Yeah, as I posted something about it on Twitter, and replying to it very wisely, Felipe Furtado said, a rare film, an underrated Scorsese, which is one of the most rare things you can possibly find, but it is true here.
Well said by, that's why he's the GOAT, know.
Anyway, that is going to do it on this week's main feed episode. We will see you on the Patreon to talk about What's Up, Doc. Join the Patreon. It's $5 a month. You get an extra episode every single week. The link is in the description. Email us at extendedclippodcast@gmail.com. Ask us questions. We answer them on the podcast. I don't know if you guys understand how that works. It's pretty easy. And I'm always so nice to the people who write in. I don't know what the
We're trying to
is
turn
here.
this into like a Dear Abby advice show.
Yeah.
So yeah, get that going.
Have you seen how much money those people make?
Yeah.
Abby
Oh,
herself.
yeah.
Abby's rolling in it.
Yeah.
She's a high roller.
Beep, beep. You hear that? That's the sound of Abby's money truck backing up.
The Brinks truck.
Yeah. I see it out the window, and I'm being teased by that every day. I need now to hear that.
I need to get more like Abby.
Yeah. Goodbye, everybody.
And that's the way it's been since the world began. The favorite sport of man is girls.